Imagine this. You're chasing a wild boar barefoot. It's snowing, you haven't eaten in 3 days, and your only weapon is a stick sharpened with a rock. That was a Tuesday, 12,000 years ago. Now imagine waking up, stretching, walking outside your hut, and picking a plump fig from your own garden. Welcome to the Neolithic Revolution, when humanity went from running after food to making food come to us. Sounds great, right? Well, yes and no. Here's a shocking fact. The shift to agriculture, often hailed as the dawn of civilization, actually made human health worse, at least for a while. Our ancestors swapped lean meat and seasonal berries for a diet dominated by grains, leading to shorter stature, more cavities, and even epidemics. So why did we do it? Let's find out. For over 95% of our existence, humans were hunter-gatherers. Nomadic, lean, and resourceful, we followed the herds, read the stars, and foraged through forests. Life was tough, yes, but surprisingly egalitarian. You had your place in the group. You shared the hunt. You knew the plants and animals like family. But around 12,000 years ago, something strange happened. The Ice Age began to retreat. Climate stabilized. Certain wild plants like wheat, barley, and lentils grew in abundance, especially in the Fertile Crescent, a region stretching from modern-day Iraq through Syria to Egypt. One day, someone, maybe a woman gathering seeds, or a child playing in the dirt, noticed something. Where a grain had fallen weeks before, new sprouts were growing. And this tiny moment would ripple through time and change the entire course of human history. We didn't switch overnight from spears to scythes. It started slowly. First, we returned to places with rich wild crops more frequently. Then, we began intentionally scattering seeds. Eventually, we stayed long enough to build shelters. And with that, villages were born. Çatalhöyük, in modern-day Turkey, is one of the oldest known proto-cities in the world, dating back to 7,500 BCE. It had no streets. People walked on the rooftops, and every home was built with care. Murals, shrines, and even early art suggest these were not just survivors, but people with culture, with dreams. But here's the catch: agriculture was a double-edged sickle. Yes, it brought food security, but only when crops didn't fail. It allowed population growth, but more mouths meant more work. It birthed villages, but also theft, disease, and the first social hierarchies. You see, when you settle down, you need to defend what's yours. You need walls. You need leaders. You need rules. And just like that, society began. Let's talk about the less romantic side of early farming life. Health. Skeletons from early farming communities show signs of arthritis, tooth decay, and malnutrition. Our ancestors went from 5 feet 10 inches to 5 feet 4 inches in a few generations. Disease. Living in close quarters with domesticated animals. Hello, goat flu. Led to zoonotic diseases. Colds, flus, and even smallpox likely started here. Inequality. As surplus food emerged, so did the first forms of wealth. Some people hoarded grain, others labored in fields. Hierarchies formed, and with them, gender inequality. Women, once central to foraging, were now often pushed into the domestic sphere. And yet, humans stayed. Why? Because something new was being born. Something bigger than a tribe, more enduring than a campfire. Culture. We built shrines to fertility goddesses. We painted bulls on our walls. We buried our dead with beads and weapons. We invented pottery, weaving, storytelling, and, eventually, writing. By 3000 BCE, agriculture had given rise to Sumer, Egypt, the Indus Valley, and China's early dynasties. We'd invented the plow, the wheel, and irrigation systems. We domesticated oxen, horses, and, let's not forget, the cat, which may have actually domesticated us. And all of this began because someone, somewhere, decided to plant a seed instead of eat it. But was it worth it? Anthropologist Jared Diamond once called agriculture the worst mistake in human history. But maybe, just maybe, it was also our greatest gamble. Because without it, there'd be no cities, no science, no philosophy, no pizza. Let's not forget the pizza. When we tell the story of humanity, we often focus on wars and kings. But perhaps the most profound transformation came not from swords, but from seeds. From the whisper of wheat in the wind. From the first hoe cutting into the earth. from a choice made not for conquest, but for continuity. We traded the hunt for the harvest, the wild for the hearth, and in doing so, we became something new. Not just survivors, creators.